At 3 a.m. in Tehran, the radar screens didn't just flicker, they went completely black. There was no screeching alarm, no frantic radio chatter, and no visible enemy in the sky. For 60 seconds, most sophisticated air defense network in the Middle East became a multi-billion-dollar collection of useless scrap metal. It wasn't a technical glitch, and it wasn't a solar flare. It was a ghost. Thousands of miles away, in a windowless room in Tel Aviv, a group of young analysts watched a different screen, one that showed exactly what the Iranians couldn't see. This was the opening note of a symphony of shadows. It's a moment where the digital and physical worlds collided to change the course of a nation forever. We often think of war as something loud, the thunder of artillery, the roar of jet engines, the chaotic shouting of men in the mud. But in the 21st century, the most devastating wars are the ones you never hear coming. They are fought in the information vacuum, a space where truth is a casualty long before the first shot is fired. This is the story of the spy who didn't just steal secrets, but stole the very soul of a nation's defense. It is a journey into the deepest, most redacted files of Mossad and the CIA, exploring a world where your phone is an asset, your geography is a prison, and your leaders are often the most effective double agents. Before we dive into the deep end of this geopolitical chess match, if you're new here and want to see the reality behind the headlines, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon. It's the only way to ensure you don't miss our deep dives into the stories the world was never supposed to see. If you find this investigation valuable, leave a comment below about which intelligence agency you think holds the most power today. We read every single one. Now, let's go back to that silent night in Tehran. Because to understand the present, we have to look at the hidden architecture of the past. The world of intelligence is built on a paradox. To be effective, you must be invisible. Yet to be feared, you must occasionally leave a calling card. Mossad, Israel's national intelligence agency, has mastered this duality better than perhaps any other organization on Earth. While the CIA operates with a global mandate and a budget that could fund several small countries, Mossad operates with a singular existential focus. For them, every operation is a survival mission. Consider Operation Rising Lion, a name that echoed through the halls of power after a series of coordinated strikes on Iranian nuclear, military, and infrastructure targets. On the surface, it looked like a standard military operation, but look closer at the map. The targets weren't just buildings. They were the very minds behind Iran's nuclear ambitions. 6 scientists, men who held the complex mathematics of enrichment in their heads, were eliminated with surgical precision. This isn't just warfare, psychological decapitation. But how do you get that close? How do you bypass the layers of the IRGC, the surveillance, and the paranoia of a regime that knows it's being watched? The answer lies in the human asset, the oldest and most dangerous tool in the spy's kit. In the intelligence niche, we often talk about the pale man or the ghost in the bunker, figures who inhabit the gray zones of loyalty. The CIA and Mossad don't just recruit people, they find the cracks in their souls. Maybe it's a scientist who feels undervalued, a general who sees the writing on the wall, or an administrator who needs money to pay for a secret life. In the case of the 13,000-kilogram secret, the theft of the Iranian nuclear archive wasn't just about elite commandos breaking into a warehouse. It was about knowing which warehouse to break into, which shelf held the blueprints, and exactly how many seconds they had before the alarm was triggered. This brings us to the concept of the information vacuum. When a government realizes it has been compromised on such a massive scale, its first instinct is to hide the truth not just from the enemy, but from its own people. We saw this during the JFK investigation, where the scramble to hide information fueled decades of conspiracy. When the FBI and CIA keep secrets, they aren't just protecting national security. They are often protecting their own failures or their own covert shenanigans. In the modern spy world, this vacuum is filled with psychological warfare. Intelligence agencies now script the news to manage the fallout of their operations. If a strike happens, the narrative is immediately flooded with conflicting reports. Was it a drone? A local saboteur? A cyber attack? By the time the public figures out what happened, the intelligence agency has already moved on to the next phase of the operation. Geopolitics is often described as a game of chess, but that's too simple. It's more like a game of poker where half the players are invisible and the deck is stacked by the dealer. Consider the massive GBU-57, the massive ordnance penetrator. This is a 13,000 kilograms bomb designed to penetrate 60 meters of earth and reinforced concrete. Why does it exist? Because agencies like the CIA and Mossad know that their enemies are moving deeper underground, into the mountains of Fordow and the bunkers of Natanz. This creates a literal arms race of depth. As one side digs deeper, the other builds a bigger bunker buster. But even the most powerful bomb is useless without the intelligence to guide it. You need to know the exact frequency of the bunker's ventilation system, the shift change of the guards, and the internal layout of a facility that technically doesn't exist on any map. This level of surveillance is only possible because of the digital ghost. We live in an era where your phone is no longer a tool for communication. It is a tracking beacon and a microphone that can be activated from a continent away. Intelligence agencies don't need to plant a bug in your office if they can just own your operating system. This is the dark reality of modern sovereignty. A nation can have the largest army in the world, but if its communications are compromised, it is essentially defenseless. We've seen instances where cryptic daily broadcasts from places like Iran or North Korea have the world asking questions. But the real messages are being sent in the data packets we ignore. It's a form of invisible war where the casualties aren't just soldiers, but the very infrastructure of trust that holds a society together. But why do they do it? Is it really about self-defense, as Prime Minister Netanyahu often claims? Or is there a more cynical calculation at play? In the high-stakes world of Middle Eastern politics, war is often used as a tool for domestic survival. Analysis suggests that Netanyahu may have continued conflicts in Gaza and Lebanon, partly to keep himself out of jail during his ongoing corruption trials. When a leader says, "I don't remember 1,778 times" in court, but simultaneously claims to be the lion defending his nation, the audience has to ask, who is the real target? Is the war aimed at an external enemy, or is it a distraction for a restless public? This is the ultimate psychological warfare, turning a nation's fear into a shield for its leaders' failures. This pattern isn't unique to one region. Look at the CIA's history of shenanigans globally. From funding secret wars to overthrowing democratically elected governments in faraway countries, the agency has often prioritized permanent interests over permanent morals. They hire the actors, they write the scripts, and they film the endings all while maintaining plausible deniability. This is why people still doubt the official stories of events like the JFK assassination. When the government is caught cherry-picking evidence and hiding 5 million documents for decades, it loses the right to be believed. The information vacuum they created didn't just hide the truth, it became a breeding ground for every theory imaginable, some of which are more grounded in reality than the government would like to admit. The spy who stole a nation isn't necessarily a person. It's a system. It's the collection of satellite imagery, human betrayal, cyber intrusion, and psychological manipulation that makes a nation's borders irrelevant. It's the realization that Operation Rising Lion or the deployment of a B-2 stealth bomber is just the tip of the spear. The real work happens in the years of silent war that precede the strike, the slow mapping of a country's weaknesses until it is ripe for the taking. This is the bilateral chess where back-channel messages through intermediaries like Qatar are the only things preventing World War III. It is a world of conditional surrenders and unconditional threats, where the ceasefire is often just a chance for both sides to reload. As we look at the shifting maps of global hegemony, we see that geography still dictates conflict. Whether it's the mountain mazes of Iran, the flat plains of Ukraine, or the Seven Sisters of India, the terrain provides both the opportunity and the prison for those who inhabit it. The intelligence agencies of the 21st century have become the new cartographers, mapping not just land, but the mental terrain of their targets. They understand that if you can control what a person believes is true, you don't need to defeat them on the battlefield. You've already won the war before it even started. But there is a cost to this game. The human toll of these secret missions and daring operations is often buried under a mountain of redacted files. We see the faces of the soldiers who called their own death and the civilians caught in the crossfire of Operation Rising Lion. But the architects of these conflicts remain in the shadows. They are the ones who decide which country is a trusted partner and which is a terrorist state, often based on the shifting sands of trade and regional influence. In this environment, no permanent friends is more than a cliché. It's a survival strategy. So, where does this leave us? We are living in an era of unprecedented transparency and unprecedented secrecy. We have access to 5 million documents on the National Archives website. Yet we are still missing the smoking gun for the most significant events of the last century. We see the high-resolution photos of impossible things on other planets. But we can't get a clear picture of what's happening in our own backyard. This is the world the intelligence agencies have built, a world where curiosity is a liability and the real truth is a commodity that is only sold to the highest bidder. As we conclude this investigation into the spy who stole a nation, we have to ask ourselves, who are we really watching? Is it the enemy across the border, or is it the system that tells us who that enemy is? The files on Mossad's deepest secrets may never be fully opened, and the CIA's shenanigans will likely continue in the shadows of some new geopolitical conflict. But by understanding the systems they use, the curiosity loops, the information vacuums, and the psychological framing, we can begin to see through the smoke and mirrors. History is not just a collection of dates and names. It's a living narrative that is being written and rewritten every single day by those with the power to control the information. The silent war is ongoing, and the next 3 a.m. blackout is already being planned in some windowless room half a world away. The question is, will we be ready to see it for what it is, or will we remain trapped in the information vacuum of our own making? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the shadows. If you haven't already, please share this documentary with someone who needs to see the reality behind the curtains of power. And as always, remember that in the world of intelligence, things are rarely what they seem on the surface. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep looking for the truth wherever it may be hidden.